Welcome to Trailblazing Tex, and today I have my good friend and also phenomenal artist, Betirri, with us. So how are you doing today, Betirri?
Hi, Brittany. Good, very good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you just wrapped up actually a very big mural that you're doing in Houston. And so wanted to take the opportunity and talk about what that mural is and that project.
Yeah, this is my 7th mural in Houston, and this is a concept that is for an apartment remodeling of some apartments in the Heights, and they named the apartments Casa de Dali, which is honoring Salvador Dali. So they wanted a mural that depicted kind of a Dali style and adapted to Houston. So that's what I did. You have to see it later, but it's just different surrealistic scenes of Houston highways, the NASA, like the shuttle, and then I added some Dali's elements like the elephant, like iconic elements of Dali's.
Yeah.
And melting clock and all that. Huh?
Oh, nice. The melting clock. Yeah, definitely an iconic Dali element. How big is the mural, or roughly?
It is about 32 feet long by, I think, 10 feet high.
Oh, wow. That's pretty big. Is that your biggest mural, or have you done bigger ones?
I've done bigger ones.
Okay.
This is big, but it has a lot of detail. So it's just, it is like a big painting in a big wall.
Yeah, for sure. And so you've been busy with the Dali sculpture. You said it took you, what, roughly 3 weeks?
3 weeks, exactly. Yeah, I thought it was going to take me 2 weeks. But
And Dali mural, I didn't mean to say sculpture, Dali mural. And so that has been obviously time consuming through quarantine, but is there anything else that you've been doing just while we're staying at home and, not really with anywhere to go?
Yeah, actually, right before we started the quarantine, I had a few projects lined up. I was actually trying to get these projects since last year, and everybody told me, okay, let's do these projects right before everything started. So one was this big soccer ball that's going to be for the campaign for the 2026 World Cup coming in. Like there is a World Cup campaign for bidding campaign for Houston to be a host for the World Cup. Awesome. So there is this campaign they're doing with big balls, and I'm painting one for the Texas Medical Center. I did that one. And then another client, he wanted the Houston skyline. So I created a big painting of the Houston skyline in some isometric view, or kind of a bird's eye view. It's just a different.
So you've been pretty busy with just your projects and everything, which is great. I'm glad that it didn't slow down too much for you during this crazy time. One thing I did want to talk about, just because I feel like I've known you for a long time, but we actually met 7 years ago in 2013 at the Big Brothers Big Sisters gala in Houston. And so that was actually the first time I had ever heard of you. I had the first time I had seen anything of yours. And so I just wanted to ask you, how did you get involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters and that gala, and then what went into creating the piece of art that you created for the auction?
Yeah, I can't believe that was in 2013, 7 years ago.
So long ago.
Yeah. So ever since I started doing art professionally, I did a lot of networking, or I've done a lot of networking, going to different events, and also online. And in one of these events, I met Rosalind, who I think she's kind of the PR for Big Brothers Big Sisters. And they were looking for an artist to feature that year on 2013 to do a painting for that will come along, or that was gonna be similar to the mission that Big Brothers Big Sisters represent. So I love the concept or idea, and that's when I decided to do this painting of so based on the mission of Big Brothers Big Sisters with the mentors of Big Brothers and Big Sisters. That reminded me of the soccer players when they come out of the to the pitch. with the little kids. So I portrayed two soccer players, one female, one male, and one in holding each kind of it's bodiless, so they're not holding hands, but each one has a little kid on their side, and
Yeah, and I actually now have that piece. It is in my living room. And I remember vividly sitting there looking at the auction and, going through everything. And I was there with my dad. It was actually my first time I went to a gala. I can't remember why my mom didn't go, but I kind of stepped in for her. And I remember them pulling it out. And because there's the bright orange, and then I grew up a big soccer player and a big soccer fan. Like Mia Hamm to me was the queen of the earth. I thought she was the coolest person. And even though I played basketball later in my life, like soccer was probably my first love, if you will. So the soccer concept, and then tying it into Big Brothers Big Sisters, which is an organization my family has been involved in for, a long time. I just turned to my dad and I was like, that's cool. And so I know he ended up bidding it and he ended up winning it, and then he gifted it to me as well. And so I don't know, one thing I like about your art personally is it's different. It's the most different thing I've been exposed to. And like, as you're probably familiar with my parents' art style and their taste. So like I grew up seeing a lot about abstract art, surrealism, like Carmen Cicero, Dorothy Tanning. They also have some abstract stuff by a Dutch artist named Peter Diem. My favorite type of art is actually kind of cubism, like Picasso, that type of stuff. Yours was just so different than anything that I had ever seen. And so being able to be exposed to new art, but also tying it to a greater purpose, like Big Brothers Big Sisters, and the mentoring aspect of it, I thought was like one of the most powerful things that I've seen. And I think that's what's so great about art, is the powerfulness of it. And I don't know, I found myself moved. I saw it and I was like, I need that. And so it's like one of the first things you see when people walk in my house. It's often a discussion piece. So I get to talk about you as an artist. I get to talk about Big Brothers Big Sisters and their mission. You're not currently a big, are you?
No, I'm not.
No.
I wish I can be soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe when you have a little bit more time, you could be a big.
Yeah, I because I've been trying to become one, but now I feel that I'm at a better place, like in terms of everything with my career and personal life. I have better direction now, so I think now I can have a smaller brother.
Yeah. I'm actually in the process as well of getting matched here in Colorado. So we'll see. Hopefully once this all dies down, I get myself a little great organization. For those of you who are listening, definitely would encourage you to look into Big Brothers Big Sisters, no matter where you are. All right. So kind of going back to your art, you're a successful artist. You're very talented. Have you always been interested in art?
Yes, always. I mean, ever since I remember what I like. And my mom told me that even when I was 2 years old, she would just leave me anywhere with my sketchbook and color pencils, and I was always drawing, sketching, doing something.
Yeah. And what was your favorite thing to draw or paint when you were a child, when you were growing up?
Actually, now that I look back on what I was drawing before, I drew a lot of soccer players and the logos of like the emblems of every team. Just like cartoons of different players. Also cars. A lot of the things that now I paint. It's funny, but I was just sketching and drawing and all that. Maybe because just my interests.
Right. And so did you have a particular artist that was probably who was your biggest influence growing up? And then who do you think is probably your biggest influence now? Or is it still the same?
Wow. Well, it is different. Growing up, I loved all the Renaissance artists like Michelangelo, Leonardo, and my favorite is Rembrandt. Just the way he painted contrast, lighting, just many different things on like flesh and details on his clothing and all that. But now it is hard to mention one.
Yeah.
There's so many good ones. Yeah. But I keep studying different artists and how they become successful.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Salvador Dali, he's also one of my influences, just because of surrealism.
Yeah.
I think that's what, like what you were saying about the painting of Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I think you can only do that effect or that send that message through painting. I mean, maybe in other mediums like film and photography, but I think painting you can do it better. Well, maybe that's because that's what I do, but I think with painting you can really depict any surrealistic scene or message they want to send.
Yeah. And so actually going back to that piece, as I mentioned, right, there was like the bright colors, there's the orange. That's the one thing that really sticks out to me. But as you talked about kind of at the beginning, you do kind of these bodiless soccer players. So it's kind of their jerseys, their shorts, their cleats, their socks. And so to me, that just kind of represents anyone can be a big, anyone can be a little. And so that's why I found it so powerful, because like you said, you were able to depict not only a picture, but also get across a very important message, on a canvas. And so that was kind of the first time that I was like, wow, this is what this painting means to me. And so again, I think that's one of the cool things about art, no matter what the medium is, whether it's painting, film, sculpture. I think it's powerful stuff. So you grew up interested in art. You grew up in both Mexico and Houston. And so when did you come to Houston?
1997, August 17th, 1997. I was gonna turn 15 years old.
Okay. So since you were 15, you finished up high school in Houston. Then you later on went to University of Houston for college, but you actually didn't study art initially. You went on to study study architecture, right?
Correct. Yes.
So why architecture when you first went to school as opposed to, art or painting or something along those lines?
Well, architecture has been always another passion of mine since I was little. And I have, in my family, I have a lot of uncles in Mexico that they are architects. And now that I look back again, that's another thing that I always loved. And when deciding what career to study, I was thinking actually graphic design, because I also like graphic design a lot. And just I was debating, but then my dad, he told me, well, if you study architecture, that's like the master of all the creative careers. So with that, you have more like a vision, and you can pretty much do anything after if you decide not to do architecture. And that's really what happened. And with architecture, really helped me to see that vision or see like a wider idea of everything that I do now.
Yeah. And so you did architecture. I find architecture fascinating. I almost envy anyone who can truly do it, study it, and practice it. Because, it's kind of endless as to what you can architect or what you can create, just like art. But you found yourself going back and getting a double major in painting?
Correct. Yeah. And so I graduated in 2007 from the University of Houston from architecture. And then when I graduated, I was working as an architect part-time. I was the architect in-house here at Highland Village Commercial Center. And I decided to go back and do a double major in painting. And that's when actually I created these bodiless paintings at one of my studios.
Yeah. And didn't you say like one of your projects was you had to do a lot of paintings? And so you went back to kind of your roots of what your passions are, like sports and soccer. And so that's kind of where that began, right? Is kind of finishing out that project, and you realize you like doing that, you're good at it, and it can be kind of a way to identify or differentiate yourself as an artist.
Yeah. And it is funny or interesting now that I look and think about it, because it is just different. Now it's been 8 years after like becoming a professional artist, but actually 10 years since I created this concept. And I remember I was painting that because I just liked it. And I had a lot of critique and people saying, I mean, why bodiless soccer players? And they were just doing different critique and saying that this will go on in paintings for for a kid's room, and just different things. But then through the years, I got really different feedback too. But I just thought, I mean, I don't care. I just want to paint this, and I wanted to create this concept where by removing the flesh or the body, the face, you will focus you will shift your focus onto the jersey, the colors of every team. And I think sports, most of the sports are about the team, not about one athlete. So with these paintings, that's one of the messages that I was sending.
Yeah. And so actually, if you look over my shoulder right here, I have one of your bodiless paintings, and it is Argentina and Brazil. And so that's actually, I think both those teams have really vibrant colors. And then the contrast with the green background, that's one of my favorite things about it, is the colors that you use. And you really get to focus, like you said, on the colors, because that's what you're looking at. You're not looking at bodies or soccer balls or other aspects of the painting. And so actually in my office here, I have that one. And then I have another one right here that is FC Barcelona. So I have quite a few of your pieces hanging around here. So I have those, and then a couple others. I have the Alex Morgan piece that you've done, and the Monica Gonzalez one. The print of Carly Lloyd as well is just right over here. You can't see it. So wow. I love it because my office is really colorful. That's why I kind of put all of these in here, because of the colors. And I feel like people are just drawn to those colors. But you don't just paint soccer or sports, as you mentioned. You also are really into cars. And so why cars? Why is that something that you like to paint?
That's another interest of mine. And I don't really like driving the cars. I like the design of the cars.
Okay.
So in 2008, when I created different series when I was in my painting blog career. And so seven series, and one of them was the soccer series, and then the cars. But I painted different the Volkswagen vans in different styles. I remember that assignment. The teachers told us to look at some different artists and kind of get inspired in their style. So I created maybe 6 Volkswagen vans in just different scenarios and different depictions. And then I was networking again. And then I met these guys that were organizing a festival here in Houston, which now is very recognized. It is the Lamborghini Festival.
Yeah.
So they looked at those paintings and they liked what they saw. So they asked me, hey, would you be interested in doing a painting for the Lamborghini Festival? And the purpose was to auction the painting, help with the proceeds, some their cost, which most of the times it is for kids with cancer. So I would create a painting and donate 50% of the proceeds for that cause. Awesome. And since 2014, I've been doing a painting for them, and it's been a nice project every year. So I do a painting for Lamborghini Festival every year.
Yeah, I know someone who has their eye on one of your pieces, but I did want to give you a moment to talk about that the Lamborghini piece that you actually currently have missing. And so just, what's the name of it? Where was the last time you saw it? And kind of just elaborate on that piece that has gone missing.
Yeah, this is kind of a long story, but I'll make it short. So this is the only painting that has not been auctioned from all the festivals. The only one that didn't meet the minimum bid. That's from 2015, and it is the Lamborghini Countach. So it is a very iconic car. It is a red Countach, and that in 2014, 15, 16, I created this concept where you will look at the car and at different angles, and it looks like it is rotating. So I have some transparency, and you can see the angle of the design at different side. So because I love the design of all these cars.
Yeah.
So since that's the only one that is left, I get to exhibit it at different places, and I brought it to this private event in 2017 October. Really cool house. It was an open house back then, so I had different paintings, and that was one of them. Then the other ones were soccer paintings. So I was getting ready to go to exhibit my work to Moscow in 2018 for the World Cup. So I went and took the soccer paintings from that house, but I left the Lamborghini painting there, just thinking that it was gonna be safe and nothing was gonna happen. So and they told me, "Hey, Betirri, you have to come and pick up the other painting because maybe the house is gonna be sold. So come get it." So I said, "Yeah, I'll go get it." I was so busy getting ready for the World Cup and the exhibition in Russia.
Yeah.
So it was my fault that really just left it there, thinking that it was gonna be safe. I left to Moscow and then came back, and that's when I was thinking, well, I have to go pick up the painting, and I called the person that helped me to be in that exhibition. She told me, "Well, but what do you mean it's not? You don't have the painting?" I said, "No, you don't have it." And she said, "No, I don't have it. I told you to go pick it up." So it's been a long story because now nobody knows where the painting is. This person, she's very professional. We've done other exhibitions before together, and she said, "Oh, I'm very embarrassed, and this has never happened to me before."
Yeah.
So she's trying to help me as well to look for it, but we don't know. The house was sold, and then there is so many people that were also part of the open houses, and then when they were cleaning the house and kind of fixing the house before they sold it. So we think that maybe somebody from the staging companies took it because they had the house staged.
Yeah.
So maybe they took it by mistake with other paintings that they were staging.
And how big is it?
So, this is a 48 inches by 24 inches.
Yeah, so it's not tiny.
And
so
it's a lot of detail.
Yeah. So I hope maybe this can give you some leads. I hope, you eventually find it because it's a cool painting. I've seen it in person. I was actually at that open house. And then, like I said, I know someone who wants to buy it. So a lot of vested interest here. So hopefully you can find it. I will say your car pieces that you have done, and I'm not a big car person, but I do think they're really cool. I think you really capture, especially with Lamborghinis, right? Their edges are sharp. They're pretty extreme cars. And I think you capture them very well. And so I find your car pieces pretty phenomenal. You bring up something, the World Cup. So you went to Moscow for the World Cup back in 2018. And then you went to the World Cup in 2014 in Brazil. So, talk a little bit about that. How did you tap into the World Cup? What was the point of that trip? And, what did you learn while you were at such big events, marketing yourself and your work?
Yeah, so this was something that really I put myself goals since I started becoming an artist, a professional artist. I was thinking I have to put myself goals and thinking about the World Cup. I was thinking that would be one where I want to accomplish to have my paintings in every World Cup. So I remember it was 2012 when I decided to keep doing art professionally.
Okay.
And so the next World Cup that was coming was the Brazil World Cup. And I remember I didn't know anyone in Brazil. I didn't know any galleries. I didn't know how the logistics of bringing paintings to another country, a lot of the things.
Yeah.
So again, I was networking, asking people, knocking on doors. And a friend of mine connected me with a very nice guy in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, back in 2014, beginning of 2014. And he opened the doors for me in Rio. He told me, "Okay, what do you want to do?" I explained to him, I want to bring my paintings, exhibit my paintings in the World Cup. He's the owner of a big company, oil company in Rio. So he told me, "Okay, don't worry. You'll stay at my house. I'll connect you with people over there." And yeah, I got there. They treated me really, really nice there. And I brought 9 of my paintings, original paintings, and a few prints. And I was there for 2 weeks. It was the best experience I've ever had because it was my first World Cup exhibiting my paintings. So he got me to connect to this TV station where in Houston, Discovery Green, they were doing parties there in Rio de Janeiro, and it was mainly for the locals. So all the Brazilians were there, and some tourists too. So I got to have my paintings in the VIP room. So
Nice.
a lot of people came and saw them, and a lot of like famous people too. So that was a really cool experience. And coming back to Houston, I was a little bit depressed. Like I didn't know what to do next.
Yeah.
And then last year, I decided to. I went to Moscow, but I learned from Brazil that it wasn't very easy or something very. I mean, it is complicated in terms of I had to prepare paintings, start contacting people in another country, getting ready. So I started getting ready like a year and a half
Wow.
earlier. Yeah, for Moscow.
Yeah. And when we talked the other week, you kind of said that your experience in Brazil, you learned a lot, but it also showed you that you can do this. You can be a professional artist. And, one thing too, and we don't have to go too much in detail, but, you went back to school to U of H to kind of do entrepreneurial studies, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think my art career has been more like a learning process in my life, like growing. I feel that I've grown so much and learned so much from this. And one of the things is that with art, you don't have really a direction or manual or something that you can see how it's gonna look, how you're gonna work on this field.
Yeah.
And you have to do everything else as far as like a profession requires. So you have to make the work, create the work, market your work, sell your work, do all the administrative work, like all the things that required to make a business. And I didn't know back then. I was just painting and selling and networking and all by instinct. But I kept learning more and more things that I needed to really first do the marketing side and then the business side. So that's when in 2017, I was selected to do this SURE program at U of H. It is an entrepreneurship program. It is free if you qualify. So it is an amazing program. Yeah, I learned so much. Just like business plan that everybody told me before. Hey, you have to have a business plan. And I didn't believe it, but it helps.
Yeah.
It helps. And then just everything like financials and many details that you need to have this for a business if you want to grow. Because
and it just seems in your nature that you are an entrepreneur. I think anyone that's an artist kind of is that way. You want to work for yourself, you want to do your work, you want to show off your work and everything. And I think it's apparent by every step that you've taken, right? With networking, knocking on doors, just going down to Brazil and not knowing anyone, doing the piece for Big Brothers Big Sisters. You kind of took all the necessary steps, and it takes a while for the pieces to kind of come together. But once they come together, right, then you see that growth. And so that's why you need to have, that business plan or know how to do the financials or, any aspect of a business. And so I mean, it seems you're right on your way. You're doing the right things. It's been great to kind of watch you from at least when I met you in 2013 to now. And so, you have your art all over Houston. You've brought it around the world. You've even done things in different states, like in Boston and New York. And so I wanted you to kind of elaborate on that. It was a project with Bud Light, right?
Correct. Yeah. So this agency here in Houston, they have a Bud Light as a client, and they were looking for an artist to do a painting for a watch party. They were doing in different states in the US. So I got to do two of these watch parties, and I was painting live. So they flew me to Boston and New York, and the event in Boston was at the public library. So I was painting live. I was painting a Patriots painting there. I actually got to get to Boston a few days earlier so that I can start the painting and then finish it at the event.
Oh, wow.
And the same in New York. New York was the World Trade Center, and so they had all Bud Lights and food, and I was the artist there painting live at each event.
Nice. Yeah. Like I said, all over the country, all over the world. Definitely want to kind of get back to some of your Houston pieces though. So I was looking at your portfolio and I kind of forgot how many murals you have around Houston. So you talked about at the beginning, how many did you say? 7?
Yeah, now I have 7.
7. Okay.
From today.
So one that I find is important is the garden mural that you did at Wisdom High School. And so that's where you went to high school. What was the point of that project, and what did it mean to you to be able to do something like that, at a school that you spent, your high school years at?
Yeah, that was a very interesting project. There's this cultural organization here, Vox Culture. I've done things with them before. And they invited me to speak at Lee High School back in 2015 and bring my paintings because I went to Lee High School. Mm-hmm. So a few years later, they demolished the school and they changed the name, which is now Wisdom High School. Mm-hmm. And they did a whole new campus, and they have this project, or in the middle of the school, they have a garden that now Vox Culture is doing there as part of the project. So they wanted a mural there, and they reached out to me and they asked me if I was interested, because that was going to be a donation actually. So that was tough, and tough in the terms that I had to find time and go there and work. It took me like 6 weeks. I had volunteers. Time. Yeah, but the whole concept was to depict or to bring to display something that represents high school, which is the diversity that it has. Mm-hmm. It is a high school with most with a student body with so many different countries. Mm-hmm. And so I decided to do or portray flora and fauna from all these different countries. Mm-hmm. And in the center, I have a soccer field, which means the unity for all these students there, which actually they love soccer. And at one time or some like different years, they've been like the best soccer team in Houston.
Nice.
So that's something big for that. And it is a big mural. It's at 32 by 35 feet.
Oh, wow.
And I use this ecological, they call it technology, which is a paint based of cement. And that's actually kind of the paint that all these Renaissance artists used to use in Italy. But now they have done it again, or kind of redone it with the technology. Mm-hmm. And it cleans the air. And once I put it on, you put it on the surface, it cleans the air and it kills bacteria, and it is very beneficial for the environment.
Oh, nice.
So I use that paint. Mm-hmm.
Cool. And one other mural that I want to talk about is the 4 Legends mural. So who are the 4 players that are in it?
Yeah, those players are Diego Maradona from Argentina, Carlos Valderrama from Colombia, Zinedine Zidane from France, and Pelé from Brazil.
Yep. So who is your favorite soccer player?
I really admire Cristiano Ronaldo, just because, not only the way he plays, and I admire the person that he is, just the athlete that he's very, I think he's amazing. Like he's very disciplined, and I get inspired a lot from players or athletes that are very disciplined, because I think in art you have to be very disciplined too. And I love the way he plays, and many things. A lot of people don't like him, but I look at just the way he plays and how the athlete that he is.
My favorite player growing up, as I mentioned, was Mia Hamm. Just that era of her and Brandy Chastain. But I will say I saw the match between Argentina and the U.S. men's game. It was probably 2 years ago, maybe, when they played in Houston. Mm-hmm. And seeing seeing Messi in person was unreal. Like, he's a great player, but when you see him in person, and also he's not a big guy, mm-hmm. and just like, how he just sliced and diced our defense. Like, I don't even remember. They scored like 2 goals, I felt like, in 30 seconds. But seeing him in person, and then I saw Ronaldinho when I was in middle school. I can't remember, but I've gotten to see some great soccer players play. And so, you have to put Cristiano Ronaldo up there. It's just a matter of, I guess, who your preference is. So with that, you've been painting a lot of athletes as well. who's your favorite athlete that you've gotten to meet through all of this?
Favorite athletes so far. Actually, one of the former soccer players from Mexico. Recently, he actually came to my studio because he's friends with a friend of mine, and I'm working on this project. It is a park that I'm actually developing here in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
So
nice.
We were trying to asking him if he wanted to be part of it. He's a little bit old now, but I remember he was like my idol growing up, and now he lives in the Woodlands. So
wow.
I got to meet him. Yeah. His name is Ramon Ramirez. But I've met different great athletes like Carly Lloyd, and I got to do 2 paintings for the Astros players, Altuve and Julie Gurriel. So I got to meet them both. And who else?
I have a little Astros painting of yours that I still need to unpack. I just haven't found the place for it, but it's like one of my favorite things. It's little, but oh man, it was one of my favorite gifts I've gotten after the World Series, because I got to take my dad to Game 5 of the World Series. So it was a fun memory for us. And then I think for Christmas I got it. I remember you came over and gave it to me, I think. But yeah, I totally forgot about the Astros pieces. We're still in the middle of our move, and I'm still like unwrapping things. So I'm excited to put up my Astros piece of yours.
Yeah. Recently I've been painting other sports. So I got the commission to do those the Astros last year. But that sketch, the sketches that you have, I did it like in 2014. I did a sketch of all the 4 major sports in Houston.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So a couple things before we wrap up. So we've talked a lot about your art. We've talked about kind of what you're doing in Houston. And so during, the pandemic and during quarantine, we're trying to support different businesses or different restaurants. And so where is your favorite restaurant to get takeout from or curbside delivery right now?
Let me see. I haven't done that much restaurants. I do a lot of groceries and been cooking a lot at home. I can remember.
What are you cooking right now, since you're busy cooking and buying groceries?
Oh, just regular, what I pretty much cook most of my every day. So just chicken and pasta, or fish and rice. And just regular food that I make every day.
Well, let me ask you this then. What is your favorite restaurant in Houston, or restaurants? If it wasn't quarantine right now, where would you go?
Wow. I really like, there's so many in Houston.
I know.
I really like Copa Osteria in Rice Village.
Mm-hmm.
I like, what else? Some of the Mexican restaurants, like authentic Mexicans, like Hugo's or Caracol.
Yep.
And
you want to know one place I miss is these two places. It's Nancy's Hustle in Edo, which is right by one of your murals as well.
Yeah.
And my parents live really close to Baby Barnaby's on Fairview, and they're just so good. They're so consistent. It's nothing fancy, but it's just so good. And they're even before quarantine, like we used to get takeout all the time from there. So I miss those two places a lot. And B&B Butchers, which on Washington.
That's really good.
It's good too. I definitely miss. I mean, Denver has good restaurants, but Houston, I think, is just on a different level. At this point. So check out some of those restaurants as Betirri has pointed out, or the ones I've pointed out as well. Businesses and restaurants need our help. I know you guys in Texas are opening up slightly, May 1st, so on Friday. But yeah, so I mean, I really appreciate you coming on. I love your story. When I decided to start this podcast, you were one of the first people I thought of. And so, hopefully through this, A, you can find your Lamborghini piece. B, some more people learn about who you are as an artist. And, maybe you inspire someone as well who wants to kind of become a professional artist, and just kind of hearing your story of navigating the different obstacles and the things you had to learn in order to be successful.
Yeah, thank you, Brittany, so much. Really love doing this, and actually, I push myself to express myself more because so I was a very introverted and shy kid growing up, and then with art, I got to, like I said, network and just open up myself a lot. And now I like to do this, and like you said, inspire, because I think, especially in this career with art, that's how you really motivate yourself, by looking at others, and you get inspired. So I got inspired by looking at other artists, and hopefully I can do that for other persons. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one last thing here, if you want to continue and follow along on the podcast, Instagram and Twitter, both are, the handles are Trailblazing Tex. And then Betirri, you are Artist Betirri, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, Artist Betirri on Instagram as well. And so I'll definitely be sharing your stuff. And I look forward to all your other projects and everything else that you have going on.
Thank you, Brittany. Thank you so much.